Hey guys, so we've got ourselves another replay review. This is where I'm going to be coaching this player and going over some of the things that they've done, some of the things that they could do to make a major difference in their games. They mentioned that this game was it was just a standard game. It wasn't like a competitive match. So my advice is going to be primarily for how to climb using this hero, right? There are a lot of different builds you can go on Yrel. I'm not going to harp too much on the talents. The builds I've recommended in previous videos, they still work. One of the builds that's kind of been buffed a lot recently is the auto attack E build, Maraud's Insight into this one doesn't really matter. Level 7, you go Holy Avenger. Level 13, you go Repentance. Level 16, you go Holy Wrath. The purpose of this build is to get as much value out of Maraud's Insight and Holy Wrath as possible by lowering the cooldown of your E and making them more slow so it's easy to land auto attacks in your second E after you land the first E. So basically, you jump on someone, you get an auto attack off. You'll charge up like a stun. You'll stun them against a wall. You'll get an auto attack off. You'll jump on them again, get an auto attack off. You'll trait. You'll jump on them a third time, get an auto attack, and you can generally kill backliners if you have Holy Wrath. Now, you can still kill backliners with a similar rotation with Velen's Chosen and Templar's Verdict, but it does shift a little bit and it makes you a little less mobile because you're using less of your traits on E. And more on Q so that you can get the 30% damage bonus from like larger Qs. So you're a little less mobile, but you are a little bit tankier because that added spell power increases the amount that you heal from your Q. Because currently you'll heal up to 333. You add 30% onto that, and now you're healing a little over 450. So for a little under 450. Little under 450, right around 450, because of that extra spell power. Keep in mind, this also scales. So your heal can actually get pretty crazy because currently at 333, you're healing more than 10% of your health. And at 450, you're closing in on healing close to 20% of your health because 20% at 2500 would be 500. And so you're getting close to healing 20% of your health every Q with that extra 30% spell power. So you give and take. Either build you can climb with. It just depends on which play style you prefer. More auto attack and mobility, or more survivability and less mobility. You decide how you want to do it, but that's basically the idea of the two different builds. What you need to be doing on Yrel. Early game, Yrel has almost no kill potential on her own. It takes too long to jump on people and keep doing more damage to lead to a kill. So early game, for me, is either freezing the lane or double soaking. On maps that are 3-lane maps that have a lot of camps, I generally double soak so that my team can do camps and my team can get value elsewhere. Your siege damage is really low. Your ability to kill heroes is very low. Your camp ability is very low. So you're really stuck with kind of that early game of double soaking or freezing. That's it. Then, when you start reaching mid game or you start reaching team fights, your kill pressure is still really, really low. So your options are really limited. What I find is the most effective thing to do on Yrel in the mid game is to zone out their backline as safe as possible. So what'll happen is this. Stitches will want to go in. And this is a Stitches Anduin, so most likely he's going to go like a Gorge and go for a pull. So what you want to do is when you see Stitches start running in, or when he tries to hook and he's trying to go for a Gorge and it's obvious he's going for a Gorge, what you're going to do is you're going to dive right on Anduin. And you're going to distract Anduin as much as possible. So when that pull does come out, you can knock Stitches right back into your team, or you might be able to distract Anduin enough to where your team just kills the Stitches when he tries to gorge someone. If he gorges you, even better. You press R, you press E, you're out. So ultimately, your mid game is going to be a distraction and to prevent them from doing what they want to do while distracting the enemies as much as possible. Late game, you'll have the ability to get a couple kills. Whether you go Velen's Chosen into Templar's Verdict or you go Repentance into Holy Wrath. Either way, you'll be able to lead to some kills, but you need to watch very carefully on who you can kill and how long it'll take you to kill. Um, it'll take you probably 4 to 5 abilities to lead to a kill, depending on how you do it. Imagine the healing that they're going to get during that time, and imagine if that's something that you're going to be able to do. If Anduin's half health, you could probably kill him before he gets most of his healing through. If Zul'jin's half health, then Anduin might be able to heal him fast enough, and if he's got his ults, then you're not going to be able to kill him. So, early game, double soak is my priority. Freezing is maybe a secondary thing if your team's covering all the soak. Mid game, be a distraction, be annoying, make it to where your team gets more time to DPS them than your team gets to DPS you or your team. Late game, maybe add a little bit more pressure towards kills, be as annoying as possible, and still basically do what the mid game's supposed to be. Let's get going. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit during the beginning. The first thing that you do is go top. Top lane's generally the solo lane. Solo lane is usually the furthest lane from the other two, if there's 3 lanes. You charge up your E in case anyone shows up, and you immediately go to the wave. So because you're immediately clearing the lane, what you're telling everyone is that you're going to be double soaking. Why I say that is because if you clear this lane, this minion wave starts pushing forward, and he can freeze the lane and prevent you from really being able to do anything in this lane. So you either want to push and double soak, forcing him to react and go, oh, Yrel's getting value elsewhere. For example, you wipe this wave quickly, and early game, it takes 4 abilities to clear a lane. Once you get to around level 4 or 5, it takes 3 abilities. Once you get to around level 15, 16, it takes 2 abilities. And so early game, you'll want to jump on them, trait Q, charge up a W, knock them all into like a small spot, do 1 more E, and then mount up. It's generally the way people do it in the early game. And then you'll want to go down to here. All of your abilities will be back up by the time you get down to here. And if your team is in the middle of fighting, you can knock back like Zul'jin back into the team, or you can knock Zarya back into the team depending on who gets low. Double soaking is kind of the best way to get your team to start doing other things other than just sitting in lane and trying to fight. If you double soak and you clear the wave, they'll feel like they have nothing to do here, and the enemies will walk away, so they'll be like, all right, I'll go do a camp. And so I don't usually comment a lot when I'm playing on like Smurfs. I'll just double soak, and eventually people will just go and do other things that are more valuable. And it works pretty often too. Sometimes I'll say something like do camps. I have mid and top, right? I might say that, or I might say like I double soak. Like you could say whatever you want to. You don't generally have to though. But this is the way, just coming from the perspective of someone who has had a solo lane account, gone from bronze to masters, double soaking is the way to do it. It really, really is. That being said, right here it looks like you're setting up for a double soak. But you got to be fast. You've got your E back up, and you go for him. If you went for the wave, you could have auto attack, E'd this, one auto, mount up, go down here, and guess what? Look how low he is. So if you were a little bit more efficient, you'd be like right here right now. And guess what? It would take you about 3 seconds to get down here, charge an E, jump right here, and knock him back into your team. So ultimately, you should be down here in 3, 2, 1, jump, smack him, right? And then you could go back up here and try again and push out again, or do whatever you want. So he gets all the soak here, no real problem. Here's when I think you realize that you want to be freezing. And I realize what you're doing. You're using your E to zone this out. So now this lane's going to push towards your base, and you're going to zone him out. Freezing can be really good and really good against Nazebo, but you need to pay attention to what map you're on and what the win condition of that map is. This objective gives early game value. What I mean by that is the objective generally takes structures. Structures give experience over the game, and camps are also going to help get structures and help win the objective earlier. If you were on like a map where it generally gets to late game and the early objectives don't matter, like Towers of Doom, early objectives don't matter, and you know you're likely going to get to late game, zoning out Nazebo from ever getting soak would be huge. It would get, even if you lost the first objectives doing it, you would get such a lead and prevent him from getting his stacks that he would be useless in the mid and late game, and you guys can win every other objective. But on a map like this, a lot of games are determined before level 20. You don't care if he gets stacks. Or you shouldn't care if he gets stacks, because the majority of the control of this map should be determined before he gets level 20. So that's my personal recommendations. Me, I would personally be double soaking instead of freezing here. And I would double soak and be looking for opportunities, or I would be telling my team, hey, do camps, right? Like, I want Lunara and I want Orphea being, like, just doing camps the whole game while I'm double soaking, and then Diablo can just chill bot. He can just sit bot and just wait. And he doesn't need to do anything bot. If the 3 other members of the team are getting camps, and I'm covering 2 lanes and Diablo's covering bot, and the enemies feel overwhelmed because they're just being covered, like, just they're either going to miss soak or they have to leave someone to cover it, and 3 members of your team are going to be able to clear camps faster than 1 to 2 members of their team, and you guys could get a couple camps here, and if they still haven't gotten this camp yet, you guys can invade, you can annoy them, you can do whatever you want to do, and they're going to be losing structures. So I love double soaking and telling my team to go do other stuff while I do it. That's the power of Yrel in the early game, is you can safely double soak, and you gain so much life doing it, because every trait Q you're going to gain almost 20% of your health. And then you're getting globes as well, and other stuff. So you do cost him a 3 minions worth of soak, which is great. You are freezing the lane, and you are getting value out of it. But what I'd recommend is, if you're going to freeze this lane, let him push. Don't sit here. Let him push. And then stop right here and freeze the lane, like, right around here. And that way, for him to get soak, he has to go all the way over here, and you have all this to chase him down. Right now, if you jump on him right here, he's in tower range, and you can't chase him any further. But if he's down here, and you jump on him, you can knock him back into your towers, and then you could literally just, wherever he goes, you could just keep jumping on him over and over and over, and you can just drop him. You could zone him out so far away from minions that he can't do anything. So you need to make a conscious decision. Are you double soaking, or are you freezing? If you're freezing, freeze the lane closer to over here. Let him push. Don't touch the minion wave. If you're double soaking, push quickly, don't touch him, and literally just hit both lanes. But you need to make a conscious decision one way or another, because early game Heroes of the Storm is all about efficiency. The more efficiently you do your plan, the more likely you are to get a slight lead on the enemy. But a slight lead leads you to getting level 10s before the enemy. You win an objective fight, then you're level 13s before the enemy. You win a fight over boss, then you're level 16s before the enemy, and you could potentially close out the game. And so slight leads is all it really takes a lot of times. I can't tell you how many times I do something very small to get a level 10 versus a level 9 lead, just a 1 level lead. And that allows us to just snowball the game, because the enemies aren't communicating very well. So 3 of them go to fight on the objective. The other 2 are like, why are you fighting? They're level 10s. And you guys killed 3 of them, which extends your lead even further. And so that 1 level lead, even though it's small efficiency things that just lead to that 1 level difference, that 1 level difference is just paramount. It's huge. It's so beyond what people think it actually is. And so people always ask me, they're like, when I was doing the Bronze to Masters 2 years ago, when I was doing all of my accounts Bronze to Masters, everyone would ask me, like, oh, see if you could do this when the enemies aren't 3 levels down. But the enemies were always 3 levels down, because I would get 1 level down, and then the enemies would throw on like a level 9 to 10 fight, and then that would make it to where they're 2 levels down, and we would win an objective, and I would double soak the whole time that objective was going on. They would be 3 levels down, and then we won every other fight purely off of his stats and talent difference. And I won like 80% of my games that way. And that's what you can do in most roles. Yes, right here. Did you see they're attacking you? Don't let them attack you. Just sit here. Just sit here. Wait for them to push. And then when they push, you can stand here and stop them from pushing in. And you can thin the wave out. You only really need like 3 ranged minions to keep the freeze. And so I like to let the melee minions die to towers, and I like to leave the ranged minions, at least 3 of them, so that they stay. It's kind of similar to League of Legends. League of Legends, the golden rule is 4 ranged minions to freeze a lane. This golden rule is 3. You could get away with like 2, but it'll cut it pretty close depending on how fast your wave is about to crash. So I would clear up just a little bit, but I would wait to see how much is left, because this is going to be a little overwhelming. But you did cost him another wave of soak, which is good. That's pretty solid. You can grab that globe too. I would take out this guy, and I would probably leave this guy for now. That would leave you 4, and I would go back in a bush. Ooh, you could jump. You could jump right there. You'll take a tower shot, but you can annoy him. But ultimately, I'd go in a bush. You want this. This right here is where the problem's coming in. You want these guys to be over here. You don't want them here, because if he throws a spider, it's gonna ruin. Oh, he can't throw a spider. He has to throw a spider here. But still, you don't want these minions attacking you. You want them pushing, and then you want to have them all frozen right here. Because if they get frozen here, that's pretty bad. Okay, so they're going to help break the freeze. Just knock them back, go hit a fountain, and then come back. If it takes 2 of them to break a freeze, that's fine. And you might even be able to still hold the freeze, because if Zarya leaves because she realizes what's going on, you can still probably hop in right over here and fix that. We get a bit of a cough drop. Okay, so again, you're going for this backline. You don't have to go for this backline. You could let the front line die, and you can literally just heal off of the front line, and you don't need to do much here. But you can if you want to, but your team's covering bottom, and you could keep zoning out more experience if you want to. First objective of the game. Should you be going for top? Should you be going for mid? What does your team think you're going to be going for? Have you pinged? Have you done anything? So generally when I'm playing Sky Temple, I like to pick someone who can do a bruiser camp. If that's a solo laner, that's usually going to be like a Hogger, a Malthael, a Sonya. If that's an assassin, it's generally going to be like a Jaina or a Greymane. If it's a tank, it might be a Blaze. And if it's a healer, it's probably a Rhaegar. And the reason I like to do that is because up until Diamond, if you get the bruiser camp and they don't, and you destroy the front walls and they don't answer that, then this takes the top tower off of just the top objective. And most people fight over mid. So you could basically win a free fort when they just take the front walls and a little bit of damage on your fort every time. And again, those small leads is all it takes to make a difference by that second objective. Because you can't do camps and you didn't communicate it all, your team still needs to know which objective they should be fighting over. It's better to fight over one objective and send 5 people there than spread yourself thin, have them kill 3 members, and then they go and fight you and leave 1 member here, and then they win both of them. And so it's best to ping on where you're going and tell your team. And the other thing too is, me personally as a solo laner, I would go to this one. The reason I would go to this one is because I can always just double soak if we start losing, or if we start winning, I can start double soaking. People always like to ask, they say, when I'm playing the solo laner, when should I go to join my team? And I say, when there's an objective and you've pushed some sort of advantage against the enemy. Whether that advantage is that you'll show up first and you'll lead to a kill, or that advantage is the enemy leaves first and you'll push the wave, costing them experience. Then you'll join your team. But the real question they should be asking is, when do I leave my team and go back to helping, just getting an advantage, double soaking? And I always tell people, if you've already won the objective or you've already lost the objective, you don't need to wait for the full duration of the objective. What I mean by that is, if you get 2 kills here, you have no reason to be here anymore. You only need 1 person here. You go back to double soaking. If you're on Infernal Shrines and your team gets 3 kills on Infernal Shrines, instead of waiting and assisting them in finishing the shrine, push out the other 2 lanes, and so the enemies are missing more soak. This is the way that you take that like 1 level lead and you turn it into like a 3 level lead. It allows you to still be at every objective, but not waste time. Okay, so you go for top. You have vision over mid. Just so you know, when this guy dies, it gives you a globe, but these guys are a lot faster to kill. I have a hard time killing this on Yrel, so I generally don't even try. I'll charge up my Q so I can get myself healed up, and I'll just kill one of these using all of my abilities. Just to give you kind of an idea, this guy over here has 1200 health, but the one in the middle has 4000. So you can kill both of these for less than the amount of effort it takes to kill this big guy. And if you actually look at the damage too, this big guy does 85 damage and he attacks once every other once every other second. Where these guys, I guess they really do similar DPS. I thought they always did more. No, today I learned. But either way, you can kill both of these in the time it takes to kill this big guy. And right now, do you see how long it took you to kill him? So you almost never killed him. Also, you got to wait until there's 2 shots left before you leave. So you waited for 3 shots, and now it's going to shoot twice, and then it's going to stop the channel. You need to make sure that that 3rd shot's in there so that there needs to be only 2 left. Then you can leave, and you're okay. So you wait your 2 shots, and again, you just barely killed this big guy. You could have killed this guy and taken less damage, and then you could have waited for the 2 shots, left the big guy up, and just walked away at 2 shots. They'll all die, and then you can join your team. Small efficiencies again, but with all the small efficiencies, do you see how it timed out? It timed out at 1 shot left. You always need to have the 2 extra shots. Your team's led to 2 kills while this is going on, but you did miss out on so many things here that it's actually a little frustrating. Yeah, so your team didn't need you. So now what you should have done, so this is what you should have done. You should have gotten that last shot. Then you should have joined your team. Once you realized that your team didn't need you, you should have soaked this lane, come back, soaked this lane, and then gone back to the top. And that would have given your team an experience advantage from bot and mid, and it would have given them time to finish the objective, and you would have ended up back in top and continued freezing or whatever you wanted to do. But now you know, this is a mistake that I don't think anyone's going to make anymore. So remember, guys, if you get to 2 shots, you can leave. That means you have 7 total shots. You have the 5 bonus shots, and you have the 2 extra shots. If it's 3, it doesn't work. 2 shots, it does. Your camp clear is way too slow. You never do camps on her. You're going to double soak. You see how she's pushing top lane and whatever. You want to be double soaking. You're missing soak mid right now, and Lunar does camps faster than you, so you should let Lunar do camps, and you should be double soaking. Your camp clear is just too slow. If you were to go auto attack build and you got Holy Wrath, it would be faster, but you don't have that. You're going to spend like a literal minute on this camp. Not a literal minute, but you're going to spend like 35 seconds on this camp. You're missing soak mid, you're missing soak bot, you're missing soak top. All right, your bot soak was picked up, but the mid soak wasn't picked up, the top soak wasn't picked up. One thing that you should note about Yrel's hammer, let me pull up my crayons, is unlike a lot of other knockbacks, hers works a little bit different. And it's kind of important because of how you knock back that person. So the way her knockback works, so most people's knockback that is in like a cone like this, knocks back in whatever direction it is from where you are. So you're here. That means that if you're knocking someone back here, it's going to knock back in like that direction or that direction. That's how most people's work. Yrel's is different. All of them knock it in the direction of your mouse. So, if you are, so again, if we do this, all of these are going to knock in this direction. Why is this relevant and why did I pause the video right here? Because you knocked this Stitches over here when you could have knocked him over here. Even though you were right here. So basically this is what happened. You were right here and you hit Stitches like this when you could have done this where Stitches was right here. You could have done this. You could have done Stitches is right here. You're right here. And what you could have done was this. I know I'm like making it really wide, but you could have adjusted slightly. And you would have knocked him toward 3 people on your team, one of which is a Diablo who could flip him and put him in this corner. I know it's small, but these things are things that will occur several times in your games, like over and over and over. They'll occur in your games. So if you can solve it once and never make that mistake again, then every other time that you see that happen in your game, you can make a difference. Your camp clear is so slow. You should be double soaking. Soak mid, soak top, tell your team to do everything else. You're about to hit 10s though. This is a good call. Go for this. Or the objective's up. You can go for the objective too. This guy's stuck in a corner. He gets pulled. Perfect. He doesn't have the pull for Gorge. You guys want to win this objective, but you can soak out one wave first if you want. I wouldn't do this because you're going to distract your team. Half your team wants to go for the objective. Half your team's going to want to go for the camp. You do camps too slow. Don't do it. I would have pushed one more wave top or mid, and then I would have just made sure that we won this objective. But your team gets both safely, which is good. The enemies get... They get 10s. They have Gorge, but they have no pull. We have Gorge going out. Destroy a wall really quick. That's all you can do. Yeah, that's all you can do. You can ult if it gets bad. Yeah, and you can hop away. Now you guys are down your tank, so this is really risky. You're probably going to want to just... Yeah. You may want to back off and just start soaking. This is what I was saying about if you've already won the objective or you've already lost the objective. You already have gotten more than half the damage on this objective, right? And now you're down your tank, and your tank's at least 15 seconds away. They're going to win for the next 15 seconds. So that means they're probably going to win the rest of the objective. That means you've already lost the objective. I mean, you guys won it because you already had more shots than they did, but you've already lost this objective. So this is when you leave. And you're going to go immediately start pushing here, and then you're going to immediately start pushing here, and then you're going to go back and you're going to push here. The reason why is because this wave's going to crash into here, they're going to lose soak. This wave's going to crash into here, they're going to lose soak. Then by the time the objective's up, you're going to be back here in time for if they try to go for like a boss. But there's nothing else to gain from being here. So I would spam retreat pings, and I would go and start double soaking. You could have jumped over this wall and left a long time ago. Now for the 30 seconds that you're dead and the 15 seconds of travel time, you're doing nothing this game. So you're effectively off the map for 1 full minute. That's 1/7 of the game that's happened so far. You were going to be off the map for 1/7 of this game. Yes, your team would have died regardless of if you left. But if you left, you could have been getting much more soak. Now your team's going to cover that soak, but remember something. Lunara doesn't clear waves as fast as you do. And Lunara clears camps faster than you do. So you should be the one soaking, and Lunara should be the one. And honestly, if Lunara was down here, she could have had a vision on this, or vision here, vision anywhere, really. You being off the map is always a bad thing. You always should be doing what keeps the most agency in your hands, and that means dying the least, getting the most value out of macro, and then in team fights doing whatever you can. That was actually pretty smart, though. You blocked all the toads from doing damage to this. And this is actually a good fight for you guys. Everyone on your team's up. You're all available. And you're Yrel. You can knock people off of points. This is pretty good. You want to knock her back into your team if possible. Nice job. It's already, it's already reset. But this is fine. They have 2 dead. You can go for boss. I don't think that you guys end bot. It's kind of death bridge, and by the time you get this and it gets down to bot, they're all going to be alive. So what I personally would do is I would like ping the bruiser camp, or I would just push mid. This is where a lot of people throw bridge. If this is competitive, you could hold this until this objective is almost up, and then you can cap it right before the objective so you can win the objective for free. But because this isn't competitive, you're not going to be able to convince anyone to hold this. That being said, you need to make a decision. Do you go top? Do you go bottom? what's going to get the most value. Because this will probably do damage to the turrets down here, it's best to probably go bottom, and your top is one of the more well-guarded areas, so even if they get this full temple, you're not losing top, and if you go bottom, bottom's going to shoot at mid. I would try to push mid really quick, and then I would go bottom with your team, because if you could push mid really quick and destroy this, then go bottom, you guys get a keep out of this situation, where they only get a fort. That being said, still mid-game. If you don't need to be at an objective, you should be double soaking, or you should be bothering the enemies. This is actually pretty huge. You guys should be able to kill him without him doing much. Or just keep body blocking him. Cool. I personally, if I was you, I would push out this wave. Your team's going to win bottom no matter what. So I'd push out this wave, and I know I said that your siege damage is weak, but this is kind of important to kill, because if you kill this quickly, your bottom objective takes keep. You can go for top objective, and it might take out the middle fast enough, but this is where the problem kind of is you're going to lose half your shots just taking out a fort. And then your other half of your shots are, are going to go to top instead of bot, which would have been a free keep. Doesn't matter though. It's hard to communicate, so it's best that you did this. But in my personal opinion, kill the waves while you go up here so that you get more experience. Right now, both teams are missing out on this experience. But if you killed the waves, then you would at least get the experience. And if the enemies tried to fight bot, they would miss 2 waves of experience, where you wouldn't miss any experience. And you guys are getting closer to 16, so you want to get that 16s quickly. Again, I don't use a lot of abilities on this big guy. I generally just kill the little guys, take the hits from the big guy. I use enough abilities just so I have the armor, but I mean, the armor's not like, it's not that great. It's okay. All right, again, we're waiting for that 2, right? And you can leave. But now you stay. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Small efficiencies, but it's okay. You want to push out this wave. You can keep freezing, but later in the game, it's more important to be with your team. So I would rather push this out as fast as possible so you can join your team. I wouldn't take this talent. Whose damage are you going to reliably be able to slow? You got to remember, once you get this talent, you generally charge this. You don't have to charge this, but you generally do it. I guess you could use, you are going W, so I guess you don't have to do it that way, and you can still use trait Q. But I would rather you have increased spell power. It's more damage and it's more healing. You're fine. You don't even need to ult. You can just walk away. You don't want to get hooked here. What can you do to give value to your team? Go bot. Your camp clear is too slow. You go bot, you deal with this huge wave here, and you don't risk dying because your team's all dead. I also want to point out, if you would have cleared this wave and this wave before you got up here, when you finished this, you wouldn't have had waves to clear, and you would have been on time to join your team, and your team wouldn't have died there. The biggest thing you can do most of these games is if you can ever kill a wave to where that wave will die to the enemy towers and the enemies won't be there, you should always treat that as a kill. And so if you can do that before an objective, you always treat that as a kill. It's like you got 2 kills before an objective. It's so valuable. But yeah, understand your strengths and weaknesses. If you're ever playing a hero that can do camps faster than waves, there's not a lot of heroes that can do it, but if you can reliably do cams and no one else on your team can do cams, you want to make sure that your team understands you'll be doing cams. If you can do waves, but you can't do cams, you need to make sure that your team has it understood that you're going to be doing waves. Waves and camps need to be done all the time in this game. It's a good Lucio, but he's dead. This is another reason why your job in team fights is generally not to secure kills. It's to zone out their damage. And this is frustrating because you did join in a fight alone, so I can't blame you for this one because we didn't see anyone yet. But you want to try to stay away from your team because if you play Yrel correctly in team fights, you can zone out the enemy's damage every fight, no matter what CC they land on your team. They won't have enough follow-up damage. Trait Q kills them. Okay. Yeah. W's fine here. You've got 2 people dead. I didn't realize the objective was up. You jump away. You have no fountain. You could step back in and knock him away, but I think using the movement speed's fine. So right here, I know a lot of people would recommend backing. I'm not, and the reason that I wouldn't recommend backing here is for the same reason I just mentioned. Every time you cause a wave to crash, it's like getting a kill. If you went down here right now, you could kill this wave, and then you could back in this bush. And by the time people realize that you're down here, it's too late. Because they're committing a bunch of people to deal with this, and you could literally go out of vision the whole way, and you could come around, and you can wipe this wave. And you could do it with this one too, but this one's risky, because they're pretty close. And where you would back would also be pretty risky, because if you back here, it's pretty obvious. But you could technically wipe this wave, go bot, wipe this wave, and then back down here. And you could get away with this. I'm telling you, about 90% of the time, you can get away with this. There's nothing else you can do on this map, because you can't fight the enemies. And if you back, you're just wasting time, because you're going to back and you're going to be full health, full mana, but your team's still going to be dead. So there's nothing you can do. So because you're already on the map, I would legitimately go over here, wipe this, they lose all this experience. I would wipe this, they lose all this experience. I would back, and guess what? You'll be full health and full mana by the time your team's actually alive. Try to do stuff while you're on the board that's safe to do. I know you're at low health, and it doesn't seem safe to do, but it actually is something that's rather safe to do if you do it efficiently. Even if like the high risk is going for mid and then going for bot, the low risk is going for bot because you know no one's really going to be over here and then leaving. If you run over here and you see Zul'jin's on this camp, you could literally just leave and you don't risk anything. You know their CC is here. Stitches, Anduin, and probably a couple other people are here. You know one's probably going to go get the vision back. And so you know at least 3 of their members are dedicated to this. If one member shows up, it's probably not enough for them to kill you because you can just hop over like walls and stuff and leave. If they run around here to get you, you can literally go over here and hop over this wall and you're gone. So this is, I know it's kind of a bold play, but these bold plays make a difference. And for the rest of this game, because we're already at kind of minute 37, I'm just going to fast forward as we approach some of the later fights. Most of the problems this game is that you haven't been as efficiently covering the macro that you needed, and you're not taking a lot of trades. When your team's losing stuff, you generally just waste time, which is not really your fault. This is what everyone kind of does. This is pretty risky. Your Diablo's not here yet. You're going to have to... Oh, you don't have your ults? It's really risky. The other thing, too, when you're approaching fights is Yrel. This is another issue that I've actually had to coach GM Yrel players. Not like Yrel mains, but people who are trying to pick up Yrel. What you keep doing is a mistake that I see GMs make. You charge up your E, and you walk directly at someone. So then they just throw all their abilities and root you. What you need to be doing as Yrel is you need to be charging your E and going around the edge of fights. And that way, if they throw roots at you, your team kills them. Because they see all the CC going out to you and your team kills them. And it forces them to react. If they don't CC you, they need to take a step back because you're about to jump on them. And if they do CC you, your team just runs at them and kills them. So the more abilities that they commit to you, the worse the situation gets for them. But if they don't commit abilities to you, then you're going to jump at their backline and you're going to just start disrupting them as much as possible and forcing them to react to you. And then once they start focusing on you, you're going to walk away and you're going to head over this way. And then while your team's going back in like this again, you're going to actually go up here and you're going to do the same thing from here and you're going to jump in like this. And you always want to go from a flank when you're playing Yrel. And in fact, most solo laners that are going to play with this playstyle should be doing the same thing. And this is how you're losing like 80% of your health at the start of every fight is you're walking in with your team and they get to just dump all their abilities right in front of them. And you don't want that to be able to happen. You want them to have to choose. Do they want to damage you or they want to damage your team? They should never be able to damage both in one go. Especially when you're playing a solo laner. Especially like Yrel. They should never be able to make that decision. Boss is back up, 2 of them are dead. You should head straight to boss. Head straight to boss. Start it up for your team. They'll get there when they get there. Ending on boss generally is a throw, so you guys could potentially try to, but it's just a tough boss to end on. It's a really good boss to use as a distraction, but it's a tough boss to end on. That's Gorge down. It's on Diablo. You can save Diablo. Literally, all you do is you just jump, you give him the Hand of Freedom, and he walks away. This is a pretty good potential fight. It's a good stun. Or sorry, a good slow. Would you take it 16? Yeah, Templar's Verdict is good. But yeah, I would recommend Velen's Chosen. You don't need a lower damage. Ooh, that's a bit unfortunate. You should still be able to lead to a kill, though. This is a chaotic fight, and they are losing their keep during this fight, so that's pretty good. You can get again, your team's going to go for this, so you can go for this, and you could potentially even go for this. You could even wait a little bit if you want to, and you can sit here and wait to see how many people answer this siege camp, and wait to see how many people fight over the siege camp, and you can take another keep. But you don't really need to do anything risky here. You could honestly just be annoying. You guys hit 20s before them. The next objective's up, and you could potentially end on this next objective. So, yeah, I mean, getting that keep would be kind of nice. But I wouldn't worry too much. I would group up, because if they spread out, you guys get kills and you end the game. So I would group up. So I would actually all go to where Lunara is right now. You want to fight together is 20. This is a little sketchy. Okay, again, you're walking directly at them. You want to kind of go over here. Like you almost want to hold your W, not your E, and you want to be moving really fast. And you want to like walk up to Zul'jin. He's going to run away from you. And guess what? This Stitches is going to be in the middle of your team. And so you don't need to ever commit to anything. You could literally just hold your W and run at their backline. Their backline runs away, and guess what? You're moving faster. You just run at their front line. If your team's damaging them, knock their front line into the middle of your team. If your team's not damaging them, then you just zone them out for free and you took no risk doing it. So then you just run back while you're still holding your W. And then you go back in again. And you keep doing this back and forth, and they're gonna basically you're just gonna waste all of their time. You're gonna waste 4 members of their team's time, all by yourself, and you don't need to commit to anything. The one time that your team's all committing onto their front line and you've zoned out their back line, that's when you can use your W. Knock the front line into your team. They're going to have lower armor. They're going to take 7% of their health, and your team's going to kill them. And you get that for free. That's the power of Yrel in this build, is you want to just hold your W up. That is your threat. That is you holding all your cards. And the second that you use your W, you have no cards in hand. And so you want to hold those cards as long as possible and zone them out as long as possible. And you never want to run directly at them. You want to go at a flank. Again, any ability that's aimed at you should never hit your team. Any ability that's aimed at your team should never hit you. You're fine. You have your ult. You don't even need to ult. You could literally just walk away from this. Yep. And you guys win the game with the objective. So they're going to go bottom. You see Zarya going bottom. You want to go bottom. Zarya just mounted up bottom. You want to go bottom. But, oh. Looks like the game should end here anyways. So the big pieces of advice, if I give you 3 pieces of advice, you need to double soak more and do everything else less. If there's not an objective up, your goal is double soaking or freezing. If it's a 2-lane map, freeze. If it's a 3-lane map, double soak. During team fights, approach from a flank, zone out their backline, don't ever get hit by the same abilities that are aimed at your team. The team fights you lost were the team fights that you got hit by Light Bomb and you got hit by Graviton that your backline also got hit by. You should never be hit by those abilities that are aimed at your backline because you should never be near your backline. So, and then always approach these fights at a flank. Don't try to go for kills you can't get by yourself unless you're just doing it to zone people out, but there's really efficient ways to do it. So learn those efficient ways of zoning people out. Hold your W. Walk at people to scare them off. Walk away so that you don't take too much damage. And just keep doing that in team fights, and you'll win almost all of your team fights, and you'll almost always end up with a lead as long as you follow that method of double soaking when it's a 3-lane map, freezing if it's a 2-lane map. Your freezing method is pretty good. It could be a little bit more efficient by just making sure the wave's a little bit closer to your towers, a little bit further from his towers, and then you could just be in between the enemy and your wave so that they have to go through you to be able to get any soak. But otherwise, it was a clean game. I mean, it was a cleanish game of you showing that you did understand that you could adapt to freeze, which is good. You realized in that first engage you could freeze this matchup. You did freeze, and as far as the experience contributed, right now it's really good for him. Or right now his experience, because you've been joining a lot more team fights. But I do want to see your experience contributed to go a lot higher. I want to see you double soaking more. While you did zone him out of a lot of stacks in the early game, he was able to get it right back up in the late game again. But again, this is another match that ended before he hit level 20. This is what I was talking about. You get that value early, you don't need to worry about it. But thank you all so much for watching. I know it was a 45-minute video. Especially thank you, HjAa. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize. I know I've asked you before, and I feel like I've forgotten. But thank you so much for sending in your replay through the Titan Plus Patreon membership. And thank you all for watching. And feel free to check out any of my other videos, and if you have any questions about Yrel, it's generally easier to ask me in the Discord than it is on the YouTube videos, because I check Discord a lot more rather than going and checking all my different YouTube videos. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me, and I can add any answers that you need to. But Yrel is a pretty good hero to rank up with. It's just she has her limitations. She does camps very slowly. Her one-on-one kill pressure is really weak. Where she gains her value is double soaking and being really, really annoying. So it's kind of like Murky, but with actually like a real health bar and more CC and just more viability and competitive. Yeah. Thank you so much for everyone that watches, and feel free to check out my other videos.